Today we are going to disassemble, clean, and reassemble a lake transmitter and/or alarm. First, you want to take the meter out of your system and clean off the meter with a rag of the outsides, by the ports on either side, just to make sure it's clean before disassembly. You want to remove the cover first by taking out the 4 screws with a Phillips screwdriver. If the cover sticks, you can gently use a flat blade screwdriver to go between the cover and the enclosure. Be careful not to damage the cover gasket or the enclosure by just lightly going on the side and giving a little twist. Then you want to remove the scale plate. There are grooves in the casting where the scale plate is going to be placed in for reassembly. Then take the meter and place it into a vise on the meter's ports flats. These flat spots on either end should be placed into the vise. Nowhere on the enclosure, otherwise you will damage the enclosure. Then take an appropriate size wrench to help loosen the meter and turning it counterclockwise. When loosening, either port can come off. So when you're loosening, be careful. Don't take the meter completely apart. Take it out of the vise and look at what side is coming off, or which port is coming off. As you see here, you can see the threads of the port. The other side, you can see the casing. So you want to remove the port on the upper end on this one. Remove the port, set aside. Now, by taking a pliers to help remove the cartridge for inspection of the meter, make sure you do not damage internal cartridge. By using a rag, you can wipe down the cartridge. Making sure there is no debris or other magnetic particles on the magnet or any cracks. You can then at this time remove the enclosure if needed, if it's dirty. And then you can also inspect the inside of the box and also inspect the internal of the casing. When installing back onto the meter, start the enclosure first and install the follower where this white piece on here is going to be facing up. Slide them down together. When reassembling a transmitter, you want to make sure you're going to assemble the follower, which is a little bit different, back into the rail assembly on the transmitter. You want to place the magnet into the groove with the white part of the follower facing up into the enclosure, as so, and then insert everything onto the casing. Once the cartridge is fully cleaned and inspected, you can reinstall by putting the magnet down into the casing first. When you are installing the cartridge, you're going to feel a little resistance from that internal magnet with the follower. So you might have to give it a little bit more pressure to reinstall it. Put the O-ring back onto the casing. At this point, you can also inspect the O-ring that's on the port for any damage and the threads. Once that's done, you can reinstall. Using the same wrench, tighten back down. And go until it just stops. Do not over tighten, otherwise you could damage the whole meter. Now we need to put the cover and scale plate back on. When reinstalling the scale plate, make sure you are installing the scale plate back into the grooves on upper and lower of the enclosure. Make sure it is centered for the meter. And reinstall the cover by tightening down the 4 screws. And that is how you clean a transmitter and/or alarm.